There is a river that never asks permission to move. It bends, it falls. It rises again as mist and falls again as rain. And no one taught it how. No committee met to decide its course. No teacher stood on its bank correcting its form. It simply moves. And in moving it arrives. Somewhere in the body, there is a place that remembers this. A place older than effort, older than trying. Close your eyes for a moment and feel it. The breath that moves without your command. The heart that keeps its own dark rhythm underneath your thinking. You did not build this. You inherited it the way a shoreline inherits the shape of the tide. The old alchemists had a word for the force that moves without strain. They painted it as a winged messenger, quick-footed, carrying a staff wound with two serpents, crossing between worlds without ever once looking tired. Hermes, the one who slips between the gods and the mortals, between the sky and the underworld, and pays no toll for either crossing. Some called this the quicksilver current. The substance that will not sit still, will not be grasped, will not be owned, and yet somehow holds everything together. Mercury in the old tongue, restless, reflective, alive, heavy in the hand, and yet somehow never still within that heaviness. Picture it now, a drop of mercury on a table. Push it with your finger and it does not resist. It parts. It reforms. It finds the lowest place without struggling to get there. This is not laziness. This is intelligence of a different kind. A kind that has stopped fighting gravity and started listening to it. We are taught, most of us, that worth is measured in strain. That the sweat on the brow is the only proof of value. That the ache in the shoulders is the receipt for a day well spent. But somewhere underneath that teaching, older and quieter, there is another memory. A memory of water finding the sea. Of smoke finding the sky. Of the body when it is not afraid, moving like both. Think of the way a bird rides a thermal without a single beat of its wings. Held aloft by nothing it can see, only by an updraft it has learned, somewhere in its bones, to trust completely. It does not question the invisible column of warm air beneath it. It simply leans into what is already rising and rises with it. There is no record of a bird ever doubting the sky. This is not a claim about history. No tablet was unearthed to prove it. No secret order guards this in a vault beneath a mountain, waiting for the worthy to arrive. What follows is a way of looking, an old, poetic way, at something every living thing already seems to know in its blood. There is a mode of being where doing does not cost anything. This is the truth, where the current simply carries you the way a river carries a leaf, without either one straining against the other. What would it feel like, just for a moment, to move like water instead of like stone? To let the day happen through you, rather than dragging the day behind you like a stone on a rope? And so the image opens. Let it widen slowly, like a pupil in dim light, taking in more of the dark than it thought it could hold. The first layer is the one you can see. The outer symbol, carved into door frames, painted onto scrolls, worn as jewelry against the skin of people who could not have told you why. Only that it felt right against the chest. Picture the Caduceus again. That staff with the two serpents spiraling around it, meeting at the top, never quite touching, never quite parting. For centuries, this was carved into stone lintels and painted onto vellum, a shorthand for a force that moves in two directions at once, and somehow does not tear itself apart. Up and down, in and out, giving and receiving, braided so tightly they become a single spine. A single column of motion mistaken, from a distance, for stillness. The serpent that sheds its skin was never a small image either. It let go of what no longer fit. And underneath, something new was already waiting, already grown, already its own. There is no violence in that shedding if you look closely. Only readiness. The old skin does not fight to stay. It simply becomes unnecessary and falls away the way a leaf falls when the tree no longer needs it. These are not magic diagrams. They are old attempts, human attempts, made by candlelight, made by firelight, made by hands that had no other way to hold an idea this slippery, to draw a feeling that has no other shape. The feeling of energy that circulates instead of energy that is spent. A closed loop instead of an open wound. A wheel instead of a wall. Consider, too, the old image of the wheel that turns without a hand upon it. The potter's wheel, spinning under its own stored momentum while the hands rest lightly at its rim, barely shaping, barely touching. And yet, the clay rises anyway, drawn upward by a motion that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. There is another old picture worth holding here, quieter than the Caduceus, less often carved into stone. The image of the still pond that reflects the whole sky without straining to hold a single cloud in place. The pond does not chase the reflection. It does not grip the light the way a hand might grip a coin. It simply stays still enough, clear enough, and the sky arrives on its surface unbidden, whole, uncompressed. Perhaps this too is a kind of hermetic image. Not of movement this time, but of the stillness that allows movement elsewhere to be seen clearly. A paradox folded into a single surface of water. And there is the image of the bellows too. The old blacksmith's tool, breathing in and breathing out, feeding a fire that could not survive without that rhythm, yet asking nothing of the fire in return except to keep burning. Two motions, opposite in direction, serving one single flame. This is perhaps the oldest lesson hidden in the symbol of the twin serpents. That opposite motions, properly wed, do not cancel each other into stillness. They generate heat. They generate light. They generate the very thing that neither motion could produce alone. Beneath the symbol, the second layer waits. Quieter. Closer to the ribs. Less a picture now than a sensation spreading warm beneath the sternum. Here, the image stops being about serpents and staffs and starts being about you. The version of you that has, at some point, without warning, done something difficult and felt no difficulty at all. Maybe it was a conversation that moved through you, rather than being pushed by you, the words arriving before you had quite finished thinking them. Maybe it was a task at 2 a.m. that somehow finished itself through your hands, the hours falling away unnoticed, like coins through a torn pocket. There was no gritting of teeth. There was only a kind of falling forward, held. Athletes speak of this without any hermetic language at all. Musicians speak of it. A hand moves across strings and the mind, for once, is not narrating every motion. It has stepped back and something older is playing. Psychologists gave this a modern name decades ago. A state where the self grows quiet and the task and the doer become, briefly, indistinguishable. But long before the name, there was only the image of the serpent eating its own tail, the Ouroboros, a shape with no seam, no beginning that can be pointed to, no ending that can be mourned. Effort in this second layer is not gone. It has changed its posture. It leans instead of pushes. It listens instead of demands. It has learned, somewhere along the way, the difference between weight and burden. How the same load can feel like an anchor in 1 hour and a keel in the next, depending only on how it is carried. Consider the muscle that grips too tightly around a pen and how the handwriting suffers for it. The letters cramped, the hand aching an hour later for no good reason. Consider the muscle that grips too tightly around a single breath and how the whole body trembles for lack of air, the way a fist held closed too long begins to shake on its own. Grip is not the same as strength. Sometimes, grip is only fear, dressed in the costume of discipline, wearing its borrowed coat so well that even the one wearing it forgets it was ever borrowed. There is an old story, half remembered across many cultures, of the tightrope walker who crosses a canyon not by fighting the wind, but by moving with it, leaning into each gust the instant before it arrives, as though the body had already heard the wind's intention before the wind itself had finished forming it. Fall, in that story, does not come from the wind. Fall comes from the moment the walker decides to fight it instead of listen to it, the moment muscle overrides ear. Something similar lives in the old tales of the sculptor who claims to remove nothing from the stone, only to clear away what was never truly stone at all. The excess, the husk, the packaging around a shape that was, in some sense, already waiting there. Whether or not this was ever true, word for word, of any one sculptor matters less than what the image teaches. That some efforts are not about adding force to the world, but about clearing away what blocks a shape that already wants to exist. And here the image turns inward once more into the third layer. The one that has no symbol at all because it is simply your own particular life, lived in a body no one else has ever occupied. Somewhere in your week there was already a moment like this. Not a grand one. Perhaps small enough to have gone unnoticed at the time, only visible now in the retelling. A walk where the legs simply carried you and the mind, for once, was not counting steps or reasons or minutes remaining. A meal cooked without a recipe in hand, seasoned by something other than measurement, a pinch judged by feel rather than by teaspoon. A stretch of driving where the road seemed to unfold itself, mile after mile, and you arrived without quite remembering the arriving, the miles folding shut behind you like pages already read. These are not accidents to be dismissed. They may be the oldest evidence you have, evidence gathered by your own nervous system, filed away without ceremony, unlabeled, unremarked upon, that ease is not the opposite of capability. Ease, in this old picture, is what capability looks like once fear has finally loosened its hold on the wheel. The ancients who painted Hermes with winged sandals were not describing speed for its own sake. They were describing weightlessness. A foot that no longer negotiates with the ground before it steps, that trusts the earth will be there before it has even finished asking. None of this is offered as settled fact. It is offered the way a very old story is offered, around a fire, half in shadow, the listener's face lit only on one side, not to be believed exactly but to be felt and turned over, and perhaps recognized somewhere behind the sternum. In that place words rarely reach first. If any of this has stirred something, here are a few small doors. Not instructions. Just thresholds you might choose to stand in front of for a while, in your own time, at your own unhurried pace. You might sit in a quiet room and place both hands flat against your own chest, and simply notice the rise and fall underneath your palms. Not directing it, not slowing it, only witnessing a rhythm that has been keeping itself since before you had language for keeping anything at all. You might take one ordinary task, washing a cup, folding a single shirt, coiling a length of cord, and do it as slowly as the body wants without hurrying toward the next thing. Watching for the exact moment where the doing stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a small, private ceremony conducted for an audience of one. You might walk without a destination for 10 unhurried minutes and ask yourself quietly wherein the body tension is being stored for no reason at all. The jaw, the shoulders, the space just behind the eyes. And simply let that one place soften, the way wax softens near warmth, without melting, without losing its shape entirely. You might write, by hand, one sentence about a moment when something difficult became easy without explanation, and sit with that memory instead of trying to dissect it. Because some things lose their shape the moment they are pulled apart, the way a soap bubble vanishes the instant a finger tries to hold it still. You might, before beginning any hard task, pause for the length of 3 slow breaths, and ask the old question the alchemists are said to have asked of their own work. Not, how do I force this, but what does this already want to become? And then listen briefly as though the material itself might answer. You might notice, over the coming week, every instance of grip. Clenched hands, held breath, a tight throat before speaking, a jaw set like a closed gate. And simply name it, silently, without judgment, the way you would name weather passing through a window. Naming it is often enough to loosen it, the way a held breath releases the moment someone points out it was ever held. You might, when a task feels heavier than it should, ask your own shoulders a simple question, not aloud, just inwardly, whether they are doing work that belongs to the task or work that belongs only to worry. Often, the shoulders will answer before the mind does, dropping an inch the moment the question is honestly asked. You might spend 1 full minute doing absolutely nothing with your hands. No phone, no cup, no pen. And notice how strange, even briefly frightening, true stillness can feel to hands that have forgotten they are allowed to simply rest, unoccupied, unproductive, for no reason at all. And you might, on some ordinary evening, look at water moving. A tap, a stream, rain against glass. The slow spiral at the bottom of a drain. And let yourself remember just for a minute that this is one of the oldest teachers there ever was, asking for no tuition and offering no certificates, only the same lesson repeated for as long as there has been water. The lowest, easiest path is not a failure of will. It is often the wisest use of it. And this you already knew. None of these small practices promise anything. They are not proof of an ancient system rediscovered, nor a code cracked after centuries of silence, nor a secret finally handed down to those patient enough to ask. They are simply old shapes. A serpent, a river, a winged foot, a wheel that turns beneath idle hands. Held up like lanterns so that something already alive in you might recognize its own outline in the light they throw. Perhaps effort was never meant to feel like war. Perhaps somewhere beneath the modern insistence on strain, there has always been this quieter counter-memory. The body already knows how to move, like water finding its level, like smoke finding an open window, like breath finding its own way in and out, long before anyone asked it to, long before anyone gave it a name or a method or a set of instructions to follow. This is not a truth to be defended, and it was never meant to be. It is a lens, one among many, offered the way an old story is always offered by a fire that is slowly going out, not as the last word on anything, but as an invitation to look again at the ordinary weight of your own hands, your own breath, your own unhurried walk through an unremarkable day, and to wonder quietly, without needing an answer tonight, what it might mean to let the current carry a little more, and to carry yourself a little less. Think again of the river from the very beginning of this. How it never once apologized for the shape of its own banks, never once tried to become a different river than the one the land had carved for it. It only moved, within the shape it was given, toward the sea it could not yet see. Perhaps this is the last image worth keeping, once the serpents and the Mercury and the winged sandals have quieted into the back of the mind. Not a technique, not a method, not a system to be mastered, but simply permission. Permission to move the way water moves, within your own particular banks, toward whatever sea is waiting past the bend you cannot yet see. No promise is made here that this will make the hard days easy, or the heavy things light. Only that somewhere beneath the strain, there may be another way of holding a life older than the strain itself, waiting quietly for the moment it is remembered rather than taught.